Hi, I'm Liz. The sun is shining, it's mid-March. I can't wait any longer. It's the most exciting day. It's tomato planting day. I've got 17 varieties to get in and I can't wait to get started. Now, growing tomatoes is an absolute joy. There are literally hundreds of varieties of tomato. There's big, small, different colours, different tastes, sizes, shapes, everything you can imagine. And I've picked a few of my favourites to share with you, but that's not definitive. There are so many, and what's so exciting is trying some new ones. I've grown black ones, crimson ones, stripy ones, yellow ones, lemon flavoured ones. There's just hundreds and hundreds of varieties, and have some fun. They're so lovely to grow, and when you've got lots of different colours and shapes on your plate in the summer, it really makes you feel happy that you've succeeded in growing these amazing fruit. Now, these are the varieties that I'm growing this year. There's some old favourites in there which I grow every year, which I just think are an amazing variety. The Sun Gold over here are fantastic, beautiful sweet tomato. The Rosella, this one here, is always a favourite of mine, and the Tigerella as well is a lovely stripy tomato which gives interest on your plate. But as I'm sure many of us can identify, in the winter when it was cold and dark and we were all feeling a bit miserable, I went a bit mad with the seed catalogue and I bought a load of new varieties here which I haven't tried before. So the yellow tumbling pear drop is my own seed that I saved from last year. Buffalo beefsteak is a new one for me. I haven't grown that one before. And this honeycomb one as well. I haven't grown that one either. So I'm going to start my tomato seed in these little starter cells, 12 little cells in one of these, and you can pop your lid on to keep them warm. Now, I've bought some new ones this year, and then I realised that my ones from last year have got a smaller lid, but that doesn't really matter for me because I move them on before they reach the top of the lid anyway. But just so if you're buying them off one of the sites that send stuff to you, you can get different height lids. So if you're intending on keeping your tomato in there a bit longer, then buy the higher lid. I didn't realise when I bought them that there were different heights of lid. So I'm going to use these. So in my plastic container here, I've just got seed compost. I do use seed compost for these seeds because it is a bit finer. They don't need a lot of nutrients at this stage. They just need something to germinate in. And I'm just going through it. It feels like I'm making a crumble mix actually. I'm just going through it, almost like rubbing in the butter into the flour and just getting rid of all the lumps and just making sure it's a nice fine mixture for my tomato seeds to go in. So I'm going to get every one of my cells and just fill it with seed compost just up to the top. And then I just get another cell and just slightly firm it down so that it's nice and firm in the plastic container. So Cherry Black, my first sowing of this year. I've just opened the packet and poured some of the seeds onto my hand. They're quite easy seeds to work with. They're not tiny, small, but not ridiculously small. And I'm going to pop one on each of my cells, and then I'm going to use my dibber to just dib them slightly under the surface. They don't want to go too deep. It does say on the packet that you can pop vermiculite on top if you want to. I've never used vermiculite for tomato seeds, so I'm not going to start doing that now. But if you do, then that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to pop them on, dip them in, and then just give them a little cover over. So I'm just popping a seed on top of the compost for each of the cells. Right, I've got a seed in every cell. I can see in the centre. So I'm just going to pop them underneath the soil, just a little way, not far, just literally the tip of your dibber, just popping them underneath the soil. They're so small. You can't believe that something so little can produce such an amazing plant in a few weeks' time. I just find it fascinating every year, and also get really excited when I start seeing them come through. It's a bit mad really, but other gardeners will understand that. There's nothing more satisfying than when you come and see the tomato germinated and start to poke its head through. I don't know why, but it's just the most exciting thing. Right, okay, they are all in. Now, very important for me, because I am rubbish at getting my tomatoes in a muddle, I'm going to make sure that I label them right now. And the sun's just come through and suddenly the temperature in here just zooms up. Right, I've done my label. I mentioned this label machine in previous videos. This for me was a really good buy, not expensive, and allows me to not get my labels in a muddle. So I just pop on my label that this is a tomato, the variety, so it's a cherry black, and then the date that I've sown it, and it's sticky, so I can just peel off the back, and then I can just pop it onto my seed tray. And then when I move them on into individual pots, I'll just reprint that label 12 times, so that there's no chance of me getting my labels in a muddle. Because if I used sticks, last year my sticks were taken out, and I didn't know which variety of tomato was which, so I ended up with a real lottery of tomato plants. And that is a planted up tomato, so that will now go into its green base, watered. It will have its lid put on it. In the daytime, mine are going to go into the greenhouse, because the greenhouse will easily hit 30 degrees. I mean, it's early in the morning at the moment, it's no more than 10 o'clock, and my polytunnel is at 24 degrees. So they'll be absolutely fine in the daytime in the greenhouse, but nighttime, unless you're going to heat your greenhouse, which I do, but not to a temperature that's really hot. I just keep it above the frost. They're going to go indoors. I'm going to take them indoors. So it's a bit of a faff, in and out for a few weeks, but it's worth it. And then when they start to poke their head through and they're a bit more robust, and the temperature in the night time is a little bit higher, then they'll go into the greenhouse permanently. But daytime greenhouse, nighttime house. Now this is one of my favourites. I grow this one every year, Sun Gold. This is one that I tried to save the seeds from, and it didn't work. So if it's an F1, the following year from the saved seed, all of my seeds germinated and put out reasonably healthy plants. But when it came to fruiting, there was very little, certainly a huge reduction on the actual original seed. So I don't save F1 seed anymore. I will buy new, which is expensive, but you get a much better yield. Now, because I have a polytunnel and a couple of greenhouses, I will plant my tomatoes directly into the soil. These were given to me. These are tomato collars. I wouldn't go out and buy them necessarily, but they were given to me. You plant your tomato in the collar, and then there's an easy watering trough around the edge. They work really well. They've got little spikes so you can push them into the soil, and they're perfectly good, and they work really well if you want to go and buy them. But if you don't want the expense of doing that, then another way of getting the water directly down to the roots is when you plant your tomato, just sink a pot that's quite long next to your tomato on an angle. So I will just sink a pot into the ground just up to about 3/4, so the top is protruding, and then you've got a way of watering directly into the root system without getting the water on the leaves. So it kind of helps to not promote things like mold, mildew, blight, that kind of thing. Now, blight is an airborne disease that unfortunately most gardeners will tell you can't get away from. If you plant inside in your greenhouse or in a polytunnel, or even in one of those cheap ones you can just buy in many stores, that will help you to try and alleviate getting blight. I haven't had a great problem with blight because I'm always planting indoors, but lots of people who use outside for their tomatoes will say that they are plagued by blight. There's nothing you can really do about it. It's just one of those things. It comes later in the season, so you'll probably find that you'll get tomatoes earlier and they'll be fine. But if you're able to plant indoors, that will help to alleviate blight. You can also get blight resistant varieties, but I never bother because I don't have a tremendously big problem with blight. Right, all my tomatoes are planted up now, 17 trays of them, all labelled, so no chance of any mistakes. I've put a little bit of additional information on some of the labels. So for example, when I looked at this one, the Moneymaker one, the seed expired in 2017. Now I certainly don't let that stop me planting them, because if they come up, then that's a bonus. I'd never throw the seed away just because it's old. But at least I can put on there that if it is old seed, if I don't have a very big successful germination, then I'll know why. So 17 varieties of tomato, all planted up today. So with all the tomatoes being planted now, I'm just going to go along and give them all a really good misting, and then I will bottom water from now on. So I'll make sure that there's water in the reservoir, and then they can draw up the water that they need. But I'll give them a good misting now, and then put the lids on them so that starts to create a nice warm environment. Well, they've had a really good soaking with the misting, this misting device here that I bought off a well-known site. I'm going to now put the lids on, and then I'm going to leave them outside in the polytunnel or the greenhouse during the day, because I'm in the polytunnel at the moment and it is boiling. I am absolutely boiling. It's roasting in here. According to the thermometer, it's 34.8 degrees. Outside it's 7 degrees. So it just shows you how much heat the sun can generate just through the greenhouse glass or the polytunnel cover. And these will be as happy as anything because they're a Mediterranean plant. They love a bit of heat. They're going to have it's not going to do them any harm at all being in this kind of an environment. And they'll even be happy with their lids on. But of course, when they come through, then they're going to need to be moved on when they've got their first set of true leaves. So I'm just going to find my lids. I mentioned earlier I accidentally bought 2 different heights of lid, but it makes no difference at this stage. They'll be moved on before they reach the height of these lower ones, so it's not a problem at all. And they'll just be perfectly cosy in there until they come through. And I'm guessing they will be through within the week. So I'd be really surprised if this time next week I'm not seeing some sign of them coming through, because they're pretty quick.